the Operations Research Society of South Africa. And we've got two presenters there. It is Dr. Lieschen Venter. Lieschen is a researcher and lecturer of Operations Research and Business Analytics in the Department of Logistics at Stellenbosch University. She holds a PhD in Operations Research, and her dissertation is a system dynamics analysis of the South African basic education system for decision intelligence and policy recommendation. She is the founder and director of the Systems Thinking for Education Policy, STP research group, which developed from a concern about the declining quality of basic education within the South African system, and a special concern for the growing inequalities in academic opportunities. Dr. Venter is the secretary of the Operations Research Society of South Africa and a proud representative of this Society of Decision Scientists. She's going to be joined by Mr. David Clark. He's the president of the Operations Research Society. He holds an MSc in Computer Science and is a member of the IEEE and ACM. David has been involved in the design and implementation of software systems for the logistics industry since 1997, and he has experience in the development and implementation of routing and scheduling optimization-based systems and consulting engagements for companies in supply chain studies. He's done work on simulations for the mining industry, workflow integration in the insurance sector, and helps on new projects in high-speed, scalable cloud-based optimization services. So without further ado, the floor is yours, Lieschen and David.
Thanks, Andres. Can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly.
Great, thanks. I'm just going to share my screen. Unfortunately, I run on a Linux box, and Teams does not play nicely with Linux.
Okay, so but we can see your presentation, so
I hope you can see that. Sorry, I'm just going to run this out my browser, so I hope everyone's okay with that. But thanks very much for the introduction, and thanks very much for giving the Operations Research Society an opportunity to present some of what we're doing and the ideas around operations research. And so I thought I would, Lieschen's going to talk more specifically around the role of simulation in our society, but I thought I'd give a bit of an overview of the society and of operations research as a whole, looking at three sort of aspects, OR itself, the idea of societies and why societies and associations, I think, are important, and then the South African context. So I think just to start with, OR is a lot like I think AI is today, right? Every time you try and define it, everyone has a slightly different idea of what it means to do operations research. And there is a very strong sort of academic set of disciplines that are taught under operations research, but when it comes to industry, things get a bit more fuzzy. And so I think it's always useful to look at how these fields started. And operations research, and to some degree computer science, came out of, or computers at least came out of World War II. Operations research has its beginnings really in World War I, which is kind of prior to there being any large computers available. And a classic example was when they were trying to schedule and understand how to do convoys in the presence of submarine attacks. And for the first time, commanders were saying, how do we improve our operational process? Because there were these, teams of people who were trying to plan and who were trying to allocate resources, and there was this realization that surely there were better tools and there were more effective techniques that could be used to not only come up with better solutions, but also to manage these problem-solving teams. And that kind of then extends into World War II, where we kind of really think of the birth operations research in the planning of different problems, and another classic one in World War II was the allocation of radar stations. And so, war has this thing of just speeding people along because the consequences of failure are so high, and we slowly start to see this idea that the powerful techniques that already existed in terms of mathematical modeling could start to be applied to more less science and engineering fields and more to the operations of business, and in this particular case, war. And so coming out into the 50s, people were taking those ideas and the teams that had been involved in World War II and were saying, well, that seems like a really good approach. Can we not use these techniques, these optimization techniques that were coming out and that had been really put to really effective use during World War II, particularly around like Danzig and his simplex method? We now have tools that allow us to model problems and find optimal solutions, or at least feasible solutions for spaces in industry itself. And so basically, we come out to like, well, war is hard. I agree with that. We see it all the time still, unfortunately. But to be fair, just about everything else is hard too these days, and certainly not just now, but in the past as well. And so this idea of and like the system dynamics people saying, like, we need to provide people with access and awareness to some really powerful techniques that are available out there in order to help them solve, whether it's problems in logistics, which is where I work specifically, or in scheduling, planning, allocation. There's problems all over that need to be addressed. And the idea of optimization and decision processes is really key to operations research. It's really like, how do we make good decisions? There's this growing sort of a line of complexity where you have that people have often referred to, where you have descriptive analytics, which is showing you, what's happening now. I'm sitting in the car, what's on my dashboard. That's a sort of descriptive view of my world. And then there's predictive analytics, which is saying, what do I expect to happen, right? I'm looking out the windshield, I'm looking out the windshield, I'm looking in my rearview mirror, and I'm seeing things, what do I think is going to happen next? And then there's the prescriptive side, which really falls into where OR tools are often used in terms of optimization theory, simulation, and game theory for that matter as well, which then try to say, well, given these two things, what I'm seeing now and what I think will happen, what do I do? This is a very difficult problem and something that is still, people struggle to face these issues, even when they've got good tools that are providing them with thousands of predictive scenarios going into the future. They still struggle to say, well, which of these should I really pick given my current objectives? And as we've seen, the field continues to grow. I always say to people, like, you should never worry about running out of problems in this space. Every time you solve one problem, another one pops up that was even harder than before. And our problem is not so much that there aren't enough problems out there for us to solve, it's that there are just not enough people to work on these things and push them further. So I think in that aspect, coming back to the society, just creating this awareness of the fact that, yes, we have tools to tackle these problems and we should be doing it. And the more people that we can get involved in thinking in these ways, the better. New tools and techniques are constantly coming out, and the ideas of being able to validate and verify your results is also becoming more important. We do a lot of optimization, again, speaking back to routing and scheduling, where we produce routes. But nowadays there's also growing interest in running simulations on top of those routes to inject issues that weren't part of the original optimization program itself, because sometimes it's difficult to capture all the constraints in these problems, and often, as you know, the more constraints you capture, the longer it takes to come up with a solution, the less likelihood that you can find an optimal solution. And this, especially in the time that's required, and sometimes this idea of running simulations to then inject more real-world constraints or more dynamic uncertainty into the system is becoming quite an interesting field as well. Once you have a solution, you still have to monitor, you still have to execute it. And so coming up with a successful solution isn't just about a good model or a good mathematical technique. It's about a team of people that need to understand what the key objective is and be working together to make that possible. We did some interesting work with Transnet quite some time ago, and while the optimization aspect of it was really challenging and interesting, as much of a challenge was the sort of business re-engineering aspect and trying to get the team to understand, to trust the results, to understand when they should raise questions about the results. At first people are very skeptical of results that come out of planning systems, and then they become too compliant. So at first they question everything, and then after a while of using it, they question nothing. Neither of these two things work particularly well. You need your planners and people using these systems to constantly be critical, but in an informed way. And so as we move forward, I think the future is very exciting, right? I mean, for all of us working in these fields, I think making better decisions is what we all want. Do we keep humans in the loop? That's another interesting question. We have a lot of autonomous systems now making decisions for us. I think in the high-speed trading world, we're seeing a lot of autonomous trading transactions being done. How are those decisions being made? It leads on to questions of ethics, and how do we make sure that members of our groups are acting in ethical ways? You can do very good optimization for good, and I'm sure you can optimize things that are bad. I suppose things like recommendation systems could almost fall into that these days, and especially the ads you see that can possibly have consequences that we don't see. I don't want to take up all Lieshen's time. Sorry, I've been going a bit slowly. It's just it's a very exciting field. I just wanted to quickly say that the society is part of a broader international group called the International Federation of Operations Research Societies. It started in '59. Currently 54 members. There are 193 UN states. So I feel, as Mike Trick said a couple of years ago, we've still got a long way in pushing the message of what these tools can do. They also have 2 journals that come out that cover broadly a lot of what operations research does. We're also members of Euro, started in 1976. The countries in green, sorry, they're not 52 members. There's about 24 members. That is a mistake. And they publish a lot of really good journals as well. The European Journal of Operations Research is a fantastic one for getting a broad overview of the fields that operations research work in. And then more recently, we've got AFROS, which is the African Federation of Operations Research Societies. This was founded by ourselves, Tunisia and Nigeria, as well as a few other member societies. And that's been growing really well. I think this is one place where we have been needing to make further work. And so the the group in that team has been doing really well. Our vice chair, Dave Evans, is the current president of AFROS. And so there's lots of opportunities there for people to communicate and to connect with other people in their specific disciplines. And then just very lastly, obviously Operations Research Society, please visit our website. There's lots of great information there, mostly put up by Lieschen. Thanks, Lieschen. And we have our own journal. So yeah, exciting times, and thanks for giving me a few moments to give you some idea of what operations research is about. I'll let Lieschen take the last few minutes of this slot. Thanks very much.
Thank you, David. I will share my own slides, and then you don't have to do the share from your side.
Great, thanks. I think you can just share it from where you are.
Is it sharing okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Everything looks fine, thank you. Okay,
perfect. So yes, thank you, David, for that overview of the society. So now you would have seen on our website that the our slogan is that we are the home for decision intelligence. So anybody that is trying to use all of these techniques that David has described for better decisions is welcome in ORSA. And especially ORSA is also the home for simulation modelers. And so I want to just take a few minutes to introduce you to some of the modelers that we have, some of the projects that we've been featuring in the society, so that you can get a feeling for how welcome you are also within the society. So at the Department of Logistics, for example, we have a research group led by Dr. Linke Potgieter, and she uses discrete event simulation. For example, one application is in production management. And in this study, she worked with a student to use the discrete event simulation to shorten the time of dairy products that the products actually spend in the production factory. Now, the student has gone on to work for ShopRite, so using those skills now. And two of the promising scenarios that they showed could optimize the system is the installation of blast freezers, for example, and the installation of additional wrapping machine in the packing area. So they used AnyLogic and built the simulation model. So, but her group is not only just interested in discrete event simulation, but also in agent-based simulation. So here's one application. This is actually Dr. Potgieter's research field, is that she's in agricultural management. So the same group also uses agent-based simulation modeling for the agricultural management. She worked with Dr. Brian van Vieren and Samantha Downing, who's also at ShopRite now, and they specifically use it as a possible means for accurately capturing the behavior of a very specific pest in the crops called Aldana saccharina. And by employing simulation modeling, control strategies may be tested to assess their anticipated success in eradicating the pest. So we have simulation modelers in the production environment, we have simulation modelers in the agricultural environment. Then we are also affiliated with Marsha, which is Professor Sheetal Salal's simulation research group. So Marsha is short for the Modeling and Simulation Hub of Africa, and it's a research group at the University of Cape Town. And Marsha's research focus is the development and application of mathematical modeling, and specifically agent-based simulation, to predict the dynamics and control of infectious diseases to evaluate the impact of their policies. Now, we were super proud because Professor Salal is a member of ORSA, and she was selected for the South African COVID-19 Modeling Consortium, which directly advised the South African government at presidential and cabinet level on the pandemic control strategy. And for her work in this advisory role, she won the Category 2 award at ORSA, which is the recognition to a current member of ORSA for a single outstanding achievement with respect to the practice of operations research at national level. So why I'm showing you this is to show that ORSA has a deep appreciation for the work of simulation modelers, and that we do acknowledge them in our awards and in our collaboration. And we have so much respect for our simulation modelers that this year our premier award medal, which is our Tom Rozwadowski medal, was won again by 2 simulation modelers, this time using an agent-based approach for migration management. And this is from the SUNOR group, which is also at Stellenbosch University. So it's the Stellenbosch University Unit for Operations Research. And they are a research group for complex dynamic stochastic systems using computer simulation with the aim of optimizing system performance. And they're based within Stellenbosch University Industrial Engineering. So the winning paper was modeling forced migration, a framework for conflict-induced forced migration modeling according to an agent-based approach. And there you see our President David Clark handing over the medal to the simulation modeler, that's Professor Jan van Vieren. So it's been a good few years for acknowledging the importance of simulation modeling in a society as transdisciplinary as ORSA. Then maybe more specifically of interest to this group, as Anders read in my bio, this is my research group that I have at the Stellenbosch, at the Department of Logistics at Stellenbosch University. So we use systems thinking and system dynamic simulation modeling specifically to model the South African basic education system. So I also teach a course on system dynamics at honors level. And then from there, I find my strongest research assistants, the students. And then from there, we have PhDs and master's degrees and honors projects. And here we use the strength of system dynamics and systems thinking to try and understand this insane black box of dysfunctionality that we have in our basic education system. So we also combine our models with agent-based approach. So we're very grateful for platforms that allow us to build these hybrid models. And I'm quite proud of the pioneering work that we are doing to combine system dynamics models with agent-based models. And we're specifically doing that in AnyLogic currently, but we're also looking at NetLogo to combine these models and to get the strength of both of the paradigms. And as a system dynamicist, as a member of ORSA, I feel so welcome in the community, and I feel so welcome in the society, because what I find is at our last conference, we had Susara, I wanted to thank Susara Grobler to be here because she was one of our keynote speakers, but then there was also Professor Lisa Skolton, and she was explaining how difficult it is with transdisciplinary research because you, as a system dynamicist, you have all of the qualitative modeling that you bring together, but then in an age where we really have to collaborate with quantitative professionals to inform our models, and to, especially with the speed with which data science and artificial intelligence needs to inform the statistical validation of our causal links. It's such a good place to find quantitative colleagues with which to collaborate and to strengthen the statistical believability and the mathematical rigor of my system dynamics models. So that is one of the big benefits that I found with being a system dynamicist as a member of ORSA, is the close collaboration that I have with my quantitative colleagues to strengthen and inform my qualitative models. So here's my call. In 2022, we've started to establish special interest groups in ORSA, and we have a data science special interest group under Professor Kanshukan Rajaratnam from the School of Decision Science at Stellenbosch University. And we also have a special interest group in quantitative finance. So now what we're very interested in is establishing a special interest group in system dynamics within ORSA. And so my call is that we're looking for a head for this special interest group. So if you are keen to join the society, we can onboard you very quickly. If you have a 4-year qualification in the modeling, and if you have at least 2 years experience in the modeling, then we would love to welcome you and maybe head up ORSA's new special interest group to increase collaboration between ORSA and the System Dynamics chapter of South Africa. Let me quickly show you if you want to find out more about this. Let me just share the website quickly. Sorry, just a second. We go, and I just want to share that one. If you want to find out, then you can just visit orsa.org.za, and then under membership, you will find the special interest groups. And here, potentially, could be the next adventure for you for 2022, where you join us as the head of our System Dynamics special interest group, and you are welcome to contact me to find out about it more. And we are happy to take any questions about the society and about the special interest group.
Thank you, David and Lieschen. Are there any questions from the floor? Shall I do a Russian volunteer again? you and you. So I'm not going to pick on Rudolph again. So the rest of you better be prepared.
Question in the chat from JP.
Yes.
Oh, that's a question for you, Lieschen.
Yes, so I love AnyLogic. It is fantastic. The price is just starting to get me down in this economic downturn of exchange rates. And so I've had to start looking at open source solutions, and the best open source solution so far that I found is NetLogo. The thing is, NetLogo is very much, it's a much lower level. So it's not as drag and drop and click and pull and you have your little icons and things. It's very, you script, you program in scripting language. So right now, all of the functionality you have in AnyLogic is in NetLogo. So whatever you would have wanted to do in any of the corporate softwares you can do in NetLogo, you just need to check on your programming proficiency again, because now you're back to like manually setting up your arrays, manually setting up. So right now I'm using it more for the agent-based approach, just because it's more statistical. But yeah, if you can afford any of these Stellas or any of these AnyLogics, then you better. But if you are struggling, then I would recommend NetLogo as the best open source solution.
Thank you for that, Lieschen. And if you find your head of the SIG, please let us know, because we need to meet this person. He can walk on water, or she. So thank you very much for introducing ORSA. We really appreciate that. And yes, we will talk to you guys and see how we can collaborate, because it's interesting. I think Australia have got a network, so all the different disciplines in simulation and decision support actually form part of a single national network there. So again, thank you very much.